Hey guys, welcome to your third XNA game development tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to go over a Hello World application, and basically what that's going to do is open up a window and it's just going to say Hello World on the screen with text. And I'm also going to show you about variables, what variables are, how to use them, stuff like that. So let's get started. Open up Visual Studio, and we're gonna want to create a new project. You can just close out of that. So again, File, New Project, and we're gonna be working with a console application. So just go to make sure that's highlighted, and I'm just gonna be lazy and just call it Console Application 1. Doesn't really matter what you call it. It can be anything. Just click OK, and it'll create your project. And so what we want to open is the program.cs, and if you have your Solution Explorer open, you'll see that down here. And again, if you don't have some of these windows, or at least the Solution Explorer, I'll just show you how to get it again. Just X out of that. And if you go to View and Other Windows, this is where you'll find most of the windows you'll be needing. And you can just click Solution Explorer and it'll open up there, most likely. And then you can see the program CS, and that's what we want to open. Alright, so you'll see all this code right here. You'll see these using statements, namespace, class, stuff like that. And we're just gonna like pretty much ignore all this for now. But where we want to work is within here where it says static void main. And you'll see these little things here, and they're called braces. And what braces do is basically tell you where something starts and where something ends. So right here you can see this is where it starts at this brace right here, the opening brace, and then the closing brace is where this part ends. And it's actually called a function, but we're going to go over that later. So yeah, don't really worry about most of this. So let's make some space here, and we're just going to be working in this part right here where it says main. And so now we're going to create a variable, and a variable has two parts. It has a type and an identifier. So I'll show you what that means. So let's say int, and just call it my variable, and then a semicolon. And so right here, so I have int, so there's two different parts. Int, that's the first part, my variable is the second part, and then it's not really a part, but whenever you make a variable, you'll always need the semicolon. So just remember that, don't forget that, or else it'll give you errors and stuff, and it'll be bad. And so let's go over the type first. So basically what a type is telling you what your variable holds, because variables basically just are something that holds a value, or either a value or an object, but we'll go over objects later. But what int is telling us is that it's holding a number, an integer. It can't have any decimal points or anything like that. It's just an integer. So that's the type. Next is the identifier, and this is just how you'll reference it. It's basically its name, what you're calling it. And you can call it anything. You can call it like, I don't know, chips or something. But I'm just gonna keep it simple and just call it my variable. And this is how you're gonna give it a value, and how you'll access it later on in your program. So I'll show you guys how to give it a value. So we'll say is my variable, and what you'll see here is Visual Studio gives you like little hints and tips right here, and you can either double click on that or like start typing something again and just hit enter, and then it'll complete it for you. And so now whenever you're assigning a value to a variable, you don't need to use the identifier. You basically only need to use the type. You don't need to use the type ever again, only when you're creating it. So now down here we have my variable, and we're gonna give it a value. So we're gonna say equals 5, and then you'll need a semicolon. Just always remember the semicolons. You'll need those after every statement. So now we have a variable, and its value is equal to 5. So now I'm going to show you guys how to put something on the screen. Or actually, before that, let's try running it. So if you go to Start Debugging, if you click that, a window will open, and then it'll close immediately. This is when you're working with console applications. It'll basically like finish executing right away, and you won't have time to see anything on the screen. And that's not what we want. What we want is to, I showed you guys before, you have this little button, Start Without Debugging, and you want to click that. So now your window stays open here. I'll say press any key to continue. So just click on that, and or press any button, and it'll close the window. And if you guys don't have this button, go back to my second tutorial, I'm pretty sure, and I show you how to get that. Alright, so make sure you don't have any errors. This right here is just a warning. That doesn't really matter. You usually don't have to worry too much about those when you start coding. It's more just for the end. Now I'm going to show you how to put something on the screen, put something in this blank space right here. And what we're going to do is type console, and it should be gray, and then we're going to type dot, and then you'll have all these a list of things right here that you can access. But what we want is to say right line. And this is a function that we're going to use to put something on the screen. And what we want to put on the screen is our variable here. So our variable is equal to 5. So what we want to do is write this variable to our screen, and it should say 5. So put that there, put a semicolon, and don't worry about this right now. But basically what we're doing is just calling a function, so it's going to do something for us. What this one does is put something on the screen. And right here, inside these parentheses right here, we're going to put our variable. And so this will write our variable to the screen. So go ahead and click Start Without Debugging, and you'll see right here it says 5. So it's pretty easy to put something on the screen. You just have to use this console. And with this is actually an object, but don't worry about that. And we're just using one of its functions to put something on the screen. Alright, and then there's I'll go over a few different types of variables. So you can just delete all that. We'll stay in this main function right here, and we're gonna type string my string. So this creates a different kind of variable called a string. And what a string is basically like a group of characters, or basically like a sentence of some sort, just text really. So we can also when you first make your variable right here, you can also set it while you declare it, because this is called declaring a variable right here. When you say its type and its identifier, that's called declaring it. So we're going to say equals, and whenever you create a string, you're going to need parentheses. So we'll say hello world, and you just remember that semicolon there. And so you see you need parentheses here, and it'll change the color of it too, so you know it's text or a string. And then we're going to go back and use the console again and say dot right line, and then you need to open parentheses, and then you're going to type whatever you want to write to the screen, and then close parentheses, and semicolon. And then if you click Start Without Debugging, you'll see it says Hello World. And you can just press any key and that'll close. Alright, so this is how you write a variable to the screen, and this is going to be really useful for us when we're working on our game to debug things, because we'll want to see what things equal and the values of different objects and variables that we create to see if everything's working properly. And what we can also do is inside the parentheses, instead of having the name of our variable, we can actually put anything we want, really. So we can do two different parentheses here, and we can type in this text is different. And if you click Start Without Debugging, you'll see the text that we typed in there is in here. So it doesn't just have to be like some variable you make. You can just put anything you want inside here, as long as it's in parentheses, or if it's a number. So we can just put like some random number in there, start it up, and that'll be there. Alright, in the next tutorial I'm going to go over a few more different types of variables and just show you how to use those. Today we went over integer types and string types. An integer is basically just an integer. It can't have any decimal points or anything like that. And then a string is just a bunch of text, and it always has to be within parentheses when you create that. And we also went over how to write something to the screen using this console.writeLine method. And yeah, so stay tuned for the next tutorial.